anything. Like, I just care about improving myself and my mindset. Like, that's priority number one for me. And if going and becoming a coach helps me become a better person, helps me become better at my mindset, as I kind of face, difficult things, then, the real benefit is I have tools. Like, I've had a rough, like, couple of days, and it's nice to know that I can sit down and do a model or a thought download and kind of just work through, what am I feeling and what am I thinking? And, it's interesting. Like yesterday, I was feeling very, I don't remember what the word was. Like, it wasn't dejected, disappointed. I don't know. I put the word in my little journal, and I started to kind of, okay, well, what am I feeling right now? Like, what is the physical reaction and feeling? And just by like recognizing it, which I haven't done a lot of that, of actually like sitting and like, okay, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? It like started to dissipate, and I'm like, okay, that's just like recognizing that I'm feeling it. It's making it better. So it's those tools that I think have been helpful for me,
And that's what you'll just teach now. You'll just take it to it. You'll just flip this narrative to somebody else who's going to tell you all of what they're going through, and you're going to teach them how to feel and teach them how to like not escape that feeling, and to recognize that feeling and those thoughts come from something deep within them, from some sort of belief about themselves or what they've been through. And how do you have the right to question all of that, right? And reinvent and reset what you want to believe in, and who you are, and developing the self-worth or whatever it might be. Like, that's all you're going to teach people. And you're going to teach them about mindset strategies like the thought model, because really people don't realize everything that goes on in our life is just a thought.
Yeah.
That's like 101.
Yeah. Yeah. I struggle with questions, because I do try to, like, I have, like, in the last few weeks, I've tried to, like, hey, how can I be a coach when I'm in one-on-ones with my team? So I've been practicing that, which I'm like, do I be a coach and just completely give space, or do I be a manager where I do a little bit of coaching, but a little bit of direction? And I've kind of settled on the latter, of where I'm trying to coach, but I'm trying to coach them towards something that I know they need to do. Does that make sense? And so, and I hope that doesn't carry over to any other coaching, but I think it's necessary here because I'm their boss. And I've just struggled, like, asking the right questions, or actually, I know there's probably no right or wrong questions, but having kind of that cadre of questions that I could ask that open them up and get them thinking.
A lot of asking your employees questions is like, what's on, how do you think about what I'm asking you to do? Like, what does that bring up for you? Or it's just like, when I give you this feedback, what's going on in your mind? How are you interpreting it?
I did use the "what are you making that mean" question to someone yesterday. He was complaining about how he has these ideas and he takes them to people and he doesn't get the buy-in. And I'm like, well, what are you making that mean for yourself when they say no? Or they're too busy. And it led to kind of an interesting, discussion. So I can see where this could be super helpful for me to be a better manager and leader and not so prescriptive about what I do, which is one of my goals this year. I really want to try to enable my team more to make decisions on their own, kind of take the training wheels off, so to speak. Yeah. And I'm very cognizant of trying to, I'm very cognizant of attempting to help them align to the right answer. But, business is so fast these days, like, you're in a 30-minute one-on-one. It's like, okay, let's solve the next problem. Boom, boom, boom. There's not a lot of time to have these kinds of discussions. So the trade-off here is that we're not solving as many challenges, but I think in the long run, that's going to be okay, because they'll be able to think through stuff on their own,
And like having the agenda for them doesn't help them learn.
Yeah. Or if I'm always solving their problems, then I'm creating a bigger problem for them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think of agendas though, like we want them to do something that I think about this. Like I've just coached someone recently who had an agenda for one of their associates, and it was more like wanting them to operate in a way because they saw this potential in the person, or they saw that they had this ability, but they weren't really reaching that potential. And she had such an agenda for that person to get there, and it was really eating her up and frustrating her. I guess it was more about her problem than that person's problem. But like, how do we as leaders not have an agenda for our team members as long as they're performing and doing a good job? How do we let them find their own way of getting to their potential, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that kind of goes and coincides with what you letting them make their own decisions, or asking them more where they're at. What does that mean to you when you're not getting the accomplishments you want?
Yeah. And it's a balance between being their supportive boss and giving them empowerment to kind of stand on their own. I think that's the balance I'm working on. I have one employee I'm not quite sure how to handle, because all of her, whenever we have one-on-ones, she's very focused on kind of an update and, hey, these are all the things that are happening and that I'm working on. And I don't like those kinds of one-on-ones because I'm not a taskmaster. It's like, I don't need to know all the stuff that's going on, but transitioning that to a more conversational, kind of digging into what's most important. That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around with her specifically, and how I do that. And I'm not quite sure how to approach that one. I'm figuring it out.
I totally appreciate the checklist of what's going on. You're doing great. How are you feeling about the work you're doing? Or where do you feel like, I always ask, like, what's working and what's not? What do you think is not working right now and how you're doing your work?
That's good. I like that one. Yeah.
It's less about the checklist and more about what's working for you and what's not working.
Yeah. And then it becomes more qualitative discussion.